Hi everyone, welcome to Sandra's Bible Tales. Today I'm going to continue with Numbers chapter 18. And in Numbers 18, God tells Aaron that he is going to be the person in charge of taking away the sins and the offenses of the Israelites, which they unknowingly commit unto God. So remember last time I said that Aaron's rod, it had bud, it blossomed and it was a miracle. And God had chosen him. So now God says, you're going to be in the holy place and you're going to be my priest and you're going to take away the sins of the people, just like a representation of Jesus. And he says, and everything that first opens the womb and all flesh, which they bring to the Lord, whether it be of man or of beast, it shall be yours. Whatever is first right in the land, which they bring to the Lord, shall be yours. And so God says, and behold, I have given the Levites all the tithes of Israel for an inheritance in return for their service, which they serve me. So God says, you guys are going to serve me. You guys are going to be in the tent of the meeting. That's going to be your job. So God doesn't want them working in anything else. He says, your job is going to be in the tent of the meeting. So that means God is going to be their boss. That means God is going to pay them. And how is God going to pay them? God says, the tithes that the people bring to me, because it's biblical. In the Bible, it says, do not test God. Yet there is a passage where it says, in the tithes, it says, test me in this so that you can see how I will open up the heavens and bless you if you bring me the tithes. So God says, when it's biblical, God, he commands his children to give a 10% of their earnings. So he says, that which the children bring to me, the Israelites bring to me, you're going to keep that. That's going to be your work, your pay for your service. And he says, and out of that money, so in 1825 it says, and the Lord said to Moses, moreover, you shall say to the Levites, when you take from the Israelites the tithe which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then you shall present an offering from it to the Lord, even a tenth of the tithe. So he says, from that tithe that you get, you are going to give a tithe to the Lord. So also remember, congregating is biblical, and churches don't run by themselves. Churches, you need to pay the rent, you need to pay the light, you need to pay, etc., ministries, etc., etc., etc. So this is what God establishes here in the book of Numbers. And then we continue reading, and then in Numbers 20, it talks about how there was no water, and the Israelites start complaining against Moses and Aaron again. And, everyone gets upset. Moses gets upset. God gets upset. And God says, bring them all together, and you're going to tell the rock to give you forth water. And before their eyes, it's going to give you forth water. But Moses is so upset that instead of telling the rock, it says that he tells the Israelites, hear now, you rebels. So he's mad. He says, hear now, you rebels. Must we bring you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and water came out of it abundantly. But God tells him, because you didn't believe me, because you didn't do as I said, you didn't tell the rock. In other words, you smote it twice. You and Aaron are not going to go into the promised land. And now after that, we see that Moses is trying to tell the king of Edom to please let them pass by their territory so they can get to where they want to go. And it says that the king, that thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory. So Israel turned away from him. And God tells Moses, I want you to remove the priestly garments from Aaron because he didn't believe me. So he's not going to be able to go into the promised land. So Moses goes ahead and takes those away. And then shortly after Aaron dies, the Israelites weep for him for 30 days. So first Miriam had died. Now we see Aaron dies. Then in chapter 21, it says that again, the people start complaining. It says, and the people became impatient, depressed, much discouraged because of their trials of the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and we loathe this light. Then the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many Israelites died. And the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he may take away the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people. So here we see that the people, when they're in Egypt, they're crying to God, send us a deliverer. We don't like to be slaves. The Egyptians are abusing us. And then when God takes them out, all the people do is complain. Oh, but in Egypt we had bread. Now we don't have bread. Oh, but in Egypt we have water. Now we don't have water. So it was a constant murmuring before God's presence. And now it says that God, put those serpents because of the people, because of their ungrateful hearts and how selfish they were and how much they murmured. And now they told Moses, we're sorry, we sinned against you, we sinned against God. Please pray so that God can remove this. And God tells us, says, and the Lord said to Moses, make a fiery serpent of bronze and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live. And that's exactly what happens. Moses makes a serpent out of bronze, again, representation of Jesus Christ. And when the people look at it, their sins are taken away from them and they're able to live. Okay. Now, the Israelites, God gave them victory over everyone. Like, so it says that they smote a lot of people. And now, when they come, it says that Moab was terrified at the people and full of dread because they were many. Moab was distressed and overcome with fear because of the Israelites. So Moab goes out, he calls to a prophet named Balaam. And he says, Balaam, come, for I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. And he says, I want you to curse the Israelites. But God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them, you shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said to the prince of Balak, go back to your own land, for the Lord refuses to permit me to go with you. But again, he says, I beg of you, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will promote you to a very great honor, and I will do whatever you tell me. So come, I beg of you, curse this people for me. And Balaam answered the servant of Balak, if Balak would give me all his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God, to do more or less. So this guy is basically saying, please, come, I'm going to give you this. And the reason he says that, I'm going to give you this and I'm going to give you that and I'm going to promote you, is because he knew that the heart of this man, Balaam, was that he liked the titles and he liked the promotion. And the reason that I know that is because it talks about that prophet in the book of Peter, in 2 Peter. It says, it's 2 Peter 2:15. It says, forsaking the straight road, they have gone astray. They have followed the way of Balaam, son of Bor, who loved the reward of wickedness. So he loved the reward of wickedness. So it was a prophet. He obeyed God, but there was a little bit of wickedness in him. And it talks about that in that book of Peter. And it says, and Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his donkey and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord, so God never told him to go. But now because he went, it says the angel of the Lord stood in the way with an adversary against them. Now he was riding upon his donkey, and his two servants were with him. And the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam struck the donkey to turn her into the way. So he struck the donkey. The angel of the Lord again stood. The donkey again, went the other way. This guy struck the donkey because he couldn't see the angel of the Lord. Then it says that again, the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the donkey with his staff. So he would hit the donkey. And the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you should strike me these 3 times? So now the donkey's talking because God allowed her to speak. And imagine that you see a donkey talk. Balaam was like, what the heck? And he says, look what you've done. He says, Balaam said to the donkey, because you have ridiculed me and provoked me, I wish there was a sword in my hand, for now I would have killed you. And the donkey said to Balaam, am I not your donkey upon which you have ridden all your life long until this day? Was I ever accustomed to do so to you? And he said, no. Like, have I ever done this to you? And he said, no, you haven't. And then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes. It says that God opened his eyes, and he was able to see the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed his head and fell on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? See, I came out to stand against and resist you. Your behavior is willfully obstinate and contrary before me. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times. If she had not turned from me, surely I would have slain you and saved her alive. Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know you stood in the way against me. But now, if my going displeases you, I will return. And the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, go with the men, but you shall speak only what I tell you. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now, every time that the princes of Balak would tell him, look, curse the people, he wouldn't curse the people, he would bless them. And this man got mad at him, and he says, I brought you here to bless, to bless me, to curse the Israelites, and all you've done is bless them. And he said, didn't I tell you that I can only do what God tells me to do? So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so he's upset, and he's like, my intention was to make you great and to promote you, but now because you haven't done this, I can't do this. And so this is where I'm going to end. So we see that this happens, and I'm going to end here in Numbers chapter 23. But thanks for watching. I hope you read it yourself and you read every little detail, and, God speaks to you through his word. In Jesus' name, amen.